so you check the practice areas that you're interested in, and then calls come into the state bar. They do a really nice job fielding these calls, screening the calls before they get to an attorney. Really, with the intent of only getting cases to you that you're going to be somewhat interested in or have a familiarity with in terms of practice areas. From when I joined the LRS committee for the state bar, I came back to our firm. We have about 25 lawyers, and we required all of our lawyers to become members of LRIS. We just thought it was a value that we could give back to the community. And I think a lot of them have fallen off since because we haven't really enforced it. But at the same time, there's attorneys that have been on it for much longer than I have here. One of my partners, George Burnett, who's a past state bar president and a pretty well-known litigator in the area, is still a panel member and still takes cases, or doesn't necessarily take cases, but takes any call that comes in. And he sees it solely as a way to get back to the community. He doesn't charge for any of the calls that he takes, but it is a as Kelsey alluded to, it's and I think Ralph, you mentioned it too. A lot of these people struggle to afford attorneys, and it's an opportunity to at least be able to steer them in the right direction, even if you're not going to take the case. I think it has a tremendous value for young lawyers, if for no other reason than learning how to talk to people and learning how to talk people through legal issues. So I would certainly encourage young attorneys to get involved from that respect. We have a panel, and I think the panel is our panel for today, and not the membership panel for LRS, but I think it's Alexis. Alexis is the only remaining one left. So unless there's parts that I'm missing in terms of an explanation, that Katie, you can certainly tell me otherwise. But I don't want to bore people with what I think is primarily well known to the six of us that are on this call. So I think it makes sense just to open it up to the group for questions, and if we can dive into any specific issues you may have, or we can talk about some of the more logistic things that come along with being a panel member. There's reporting requirements. As calls come in, you get I think it's a quarterly reporting requirement from the bar, and you have to report whether you took the case or whether anything's pending or whether you've collected any fees on it, that type of thing. So I guess at this time I'll open it up to any questions or comments or anything that anybody else might have.
I guess I can start with a question, and then I actually have comments too. But I'm curious about how your panel works with geographically. Like, for instance, if you've got, I'm in Rock County primarily, and yet I get cases from various counties, because as I think what we're all finding out is that if you're in Dane County, there's more lawyers than there are clients. But if you're in Rock County or some of these other counties, there's more clients than lawyers out there. And so I'm just curious as to how you sort of work that geographically on the intake in terms of passing them out to the panel members such as me. Yeah. It's sort of a generic question perhaps, but it's something that I'm not sure I have any real sense.
I'll certainly let Katie answer, because she's going to give you a much better answer than I will, but I can share in the sentiment that as a Green Bay lawyer, I'm a northern Wisconsin lawyer. So I get referrals pretty much from La Crosse over to this side of the state and up. So I don't know that it's a perfect system, but I think from a geographic standpoint, I think the challenge is we don't have a lot of lawyers in the panel in certain areas.
Yeah, that's, I guess, what I was alluding to in the sense of even in Rock County, which is adjacent to Dane County, I'm not sure we have a lot of lawyers there, lawyers involved in this. In fact, in general, I don't think there's enough lawyers in Rock County, believe it or not. So even though one could argue there in Dane County, there's probably plenty. But, so yeah, I guess that's what I'm curious about. One other comment I wanted to make is that I also was involved for a number of years with the Legal Assistance Committee, and before that, the Board of Bar Examiners Review Committee. And I worked with Jeff Brown on this, and I'm still working with him on the free legal answers. And I have talked with him occasionally, and I do funnel people out of that into LRIS sometimes, because a lot of those, oh, it's just one simple question, of course, is way more than that. So that's something that I mean, LRIS, I presume you work with Jeff and and folks like that on making sure that these questions get to the right place.
Yep. And just to kind of answer to the rotation of attorneys and how we get cases in North, it is that we are lacking attorneys in northern Wisconsin, or in certain areas. So then how it works is you're pulled on a rotation. So and if you agree that you'll take cases, like say in Rock County or from surrounding counties, then your name gets pulled into a case that would come in because you're willing to take it. We do try to look at the location of the client as well, but that is how the rotation works. So we try to keep it fair of the number of referrals going to each attorney, and it really does depend if we have attorneys in the area of the client or not. And so that's probably why you're getting a lot of cases, like Steve said, from all the surrounding counties.
And what I've done, and I don't know if this is the right answer or not, primarily when I'm getting calls from the western side of the state or the northwestern part of the state, in areas that I generally speaking, it wouldn't make sense for me to take if it's a small litigation case or something like that. It doesn't make sense for the client to pay me travel costs to end up having to go over there. But it does give me the opportunity to provide them with names of contacts that I do have on that side of the state that aren't panel members, but are certainly somebody that could help them in the area they're looking for help in. Katie, I don't know if you had any comments to Ralph's second point.
We do work a lot with Jeff Brown. So if we do get questions that come to us where it turns out that it might just be a question, we also have a hotline program. So if he sends us something, or if you send us somebody that just maybe has a question, might turn into something more, we have a Wednesday night hotline for firms that can volunteer to take on and answer these basic questions. So we do try to find a resource for somebody. If it's just a question, a simple question, we'll refer them to the hotline program. If it's maybe we're talking with them, we have a modest means program, finding out they can't afford, but their income is too high for pro bono or other services, legal action and things like that. We have a modest means program, and we'll work with them to see if we can find an attorney that they maybe can afford. Does that help answer that question, or?
Sure.
Yeah, can you add, I just want to ask about the hotline program you were talking about, Katie. You said every Wednesday night, there's just kind of a pro bono type of thing where the client calls in.
We have firms that we reach out to, and they volunteer to take on these questions. So depending on the firm that's hosting that Wednesday and the number of attorneys that they have participating, determines how many questions we can take for that Wednesday, but it's between 5 and 7. And usually if there's a couple attorneys, they take 6 to 7 questions, and then we send them on to them Wednesday afternoon, and they call these people back and answer their basic questions. Sometimes it turns into something more for the person. Maybe once they've talked to the attorneys, like, oh, they're actually going to need some more help with this. It's not as basic as they thought. And they refer them back to LRIS if they're, or let us know they took the case. So those are questions that we like to call simple legal questions that may be a yes or no answer. So we try to weed those out and trying to determine if it's that type of question for the client or for the attorney.
then the modest means program, is that something similar where they kind of just call in and like you said, if they don't meet the threshold for us anyway, but they're still not that high? Do you guys also kind of refer? Or?
Yep. So we have attorneys that participate in the modest means program as well. So they are agreeing to take these cases at a reduced rate for the clients. So what we have to verify is their income level for these programs. So once they tell us that they can't afford a full rate attorney, or we ask them, you know, are you interested in the modest means program? And then we ask for their income. And we kind of verify that to make sure they qualify. And then we, with the same type of rotation, we refer them to someone on the modest means panel. And modest means can only take a certain types of cases. They can't handle every case, so it's limited in that aspect. But if it's an area that we cover, we will definitely try and work with the client.
Okay. All right. And then, sorry, last follow-up. So, like, what's the likelihood of clients getting their question answered, like through the hotline, or even being referred through the Modest program? Like, is it pretty quick turnaround, or like may take a few weeks while you guys find an attorney?
No, it's a pretty quick turnaround. It's basically as soon as they send us the application, they have to fill out the application, send us their income verification. As soon as we get that, we process it, and then we put them in the system and try and find them an attorney. Same with hotline, if because we're taking calls, and I have a little PowerPoint I'll kind of tell you about the phone specialist. They're taking calls, and if they say, it sounds like this might be a basic question, they'll refer them to the hotline program. And then it's most of the time the attorneys are answering. They give us a limit of what they can answer. So pretty much all the time they're answering all the questions that have come in. So.
Okay. Thanks.
I mean, I can, if you have questions, I can share this PowerPoint, just the basics of LRAS calls that are answered, the kind of the fees that might be you can collect on cases referred. If anyone's interested in that, I can share that now and kind of go through that. And I'll show you our phone specialists and who's taking the calls.
I would like that.
All right.
I'd be curious. I don't even know any of this stuff being on the front end of things. So yeah.
Yeah, neither do I. So
All right. All right. Let me share my screen and I'll get this PowerPoint going. Everybody able to see? Let's see, maybe I got the wrong screen up.
I can see it.
Can you see the PowerPoint?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. It's not letting me do what I want it to do, but I'll click through. So this is based on last year's information for the fiscal year. LRAS program took in 36,000 calls from the public. We tried our best to answer the calls that come in. We answered 29,000 plus of those calls are handled by our specialists. So what that means is sometimes there's a queue. Sometimes people hang up before they get to reach the specialist. And sometimes calls can get dropped if they've been in the queue too long. We've had, it just depends on how long the conversation is taken with the current client. So we tried our best to answer all the calls. We made 13,000 referrals to panel members. Now that is just referrals we've made. Sometimes they don't always accept the case and that'll get sent back to us and then we try to re-refer if possible, or the attorney will let us know that, you know, just notes on the case. This isn't something that might go anywhere. So we make notes on that and determine if we should make another referral or not, if it makes sense. If we're hearing that from the attorney that sent it back, that it might not go anywhere. The average amount made on cases referred is, you know, just over $2,000 last year. And that's for the client. That's for the attorney that took the case. That's the average amount from last year. But the largest was made was just under $3,000 an attorney made last year from a case that was referred to us. So hoping most cases we try to make sure that they're, you know, they can pay for the attorney and that it is a case that's going to be successful. So when they're talking to a phone specialist, they're talking to someone from the public, they're taking the calls. We also have two specialists that speak Spanish. So they are taking on our Spanish speaking callers and trying to refer them, which is a need we have for Spanish speaking attorneys that can take those cases. So what they do is they just discuss the situation with the caller, figure out what's going on, and try to determine the type of attorney that they might need. There is sometimes when we're talking, we might refer the wrong type of attorney, and then usually the attorney said, that's not really where I practice, and we apologize and send it on to someone that might actually practice in that area. It's all based on what the caller is willing to tell us sometimes, and sometimes they're not always willing to share a lot with us. So we try to get as much as we can to make the most appropriate referral. We do tell the specialist or the callers that, this is not a free service or a low cost service when we're making the referral. So we try to confirm without asking for their income that they can afford the attorney. That's when they tell us, well, that's a little high for me. Then we kind of bring up the modest means program and tell them the steps to proceed with that if they want to go that route, and see if we can find an attorney that can help them. So we do try our best. We always get someone saying that they can pay. They get sent through to an attorney, and then the attorney finds out that they actually can't pay because the person just actually wanted to try and get in contact with attorneys. So we try to stop that as much as possible, but that does still happen. These are our phone specialists. We have Michael Portillo, Ebony Jeffers, and Angela Garza. They have all been with us for at least a year. Prior to that, we had 2 specialists that were with us for 4 years. So then they moved on to different opportunities, but our specialists are all very well versed in the program and taking cases, and they can answer any questions. If you call them directly as well with a question, they're all able to answer questions as well that you might have. So those are our phone specialists. When a referral is made, we send an email notification. So it will go to the attorney, and will also go to the client if they give us an email address. Sometimes they aren't willing to give that, so then they don't get the referral. We give them the number, but we do send email notifications. We do instruct the caller to call the attorney and let them know that they received the referral from the LRS program. We tell them to reach out relatively soon, and that's a piece that's hard to follow up on if they do. That's why we get a lot of no contact, sometimes in the status reports, and I'll get to that in just a minute. And then our case management program, we updated in 2020, probably poor timing on our part because it was COVID and it just hit. We upgraded our new system. So that was hard to get everybody acquainted with that. But the system is a lot easier to use, I feel, and from what I've heard from attorneys that use it, to log in and manage your cases. One thing to know is it's not part of the wisbar.org website. So it is a separate site. So it's not connected to, you'd have to use a different password to get into this to manage the cases. But this is a system that's going to house all of the cases we've referred. You just log in and you update your cases. Once you've logged in, this is the screen that will pop up, and you just click on My Cases. Unfortunately, I was going to show you a live version, but I don't have a test site, and I can't show you other attorneys' work. So this is kind of just snapshots of what it looks like, and you can just click on, if you view My Cases, this is what would pop up. So I wrote in a test case here. It tells you about the case, and then if you're updating it, which you'll get quarterly reports on, just reminders to go in and update the cases that have been referred. You just go in here and do that. You can also update the case at any time. You don't actually have to wait for us to send those reminders. But you just go on here, you click on this action button, and the drop down will come down. And then it's going to give you options. So update the status, just update as far as like if it's been accepted or if there's been no contact. You do have to update every quarter for sure, just to let us know that there's either no changes, just to make sure that we're keeping up, but you want to keep the case. If there's been no contact for about 6 months, the cases will fall off. We keep it on there for 6 months just in case this caller will reach out to you. So we do have a 6 months period there if there's been no contact, but they do eventually drop off. So then you would update your case. If there's a payment, you've received fees from the client, you just make a payment. You can click on that. And then what you do is you just enter in what you've made, and the system will automatically calculate what you would owe to the LRS program. And we don't collect anything over, if you have not made $200 on the case, we don't collect anything on that until you've made $200, we collect a 10% fee. And then you just keep adding in everything you've collected. So say you've made $500 and the next time you've made $200, but then the total fees would be $700. So then we take the percentage from that of what you've already paid and then what you would owe now. So it does automatically do that for you once you do that in or enter all that information in. And then you can make payments, you can send a check in or you can pay right there online. So I'm hoping this is convenient for attorneys to do and to go in and try and update these right there and not have to worry about it, pay for it and be done with it. And this is just what the case status update is. It gives you a drop down, you select the appropriate option. If you have an anticipated date for closing, you can always enter that in. You don't have to. The main part is just updating the status each quarter, letting us know where the case is at, if it's closed, if it's still open, pending, things like that. And then this is just my contact information. If you had questions or wanted more more information on the program, more details regarding the ins and outs of the program. I didn't know how much time we have today, so I didn't want to, take the whole time explaining the data system because that's probably not super interesting. So, but this is my information. I'm happy to share this slide with you too if you'd would like that. But that's the basics of the data management system, and I'm hoping it works for everyone. I know every data system has its glitches, but I'm hoping this is more convenient than what we used to do. So, any questions?
So yeah, I have a quick question. So if a client calls like after hours, is there's like a system or something like that, or does it, can the client still kind of like get put in a queue?
So we are open 8 to 5 that calls come in. And there is an online where they can fill out an online form right now. And we are actually upgrading our online self-referral program, so where it will be available 24/7. There will be a fee associated with that for them to get the immediate referral, because we have to kind of weed out those that might not be willing to pay. We don't want to just send out an attorney's name. So that will be we're hoping it's all pretty much taken care of. We're just working on the language for the website, and that will hopefully be up. I'm hopeful before Christmas that we'll get that up, and that is an option that is available after 5 and on the weekends.
But otherwise, there's like a answering machine or something, I guess, that says like
Yep.
we're closed. Or...
Yeah, they could leave a message, and we also refer them to the website. So if they wanted to just get an application or their question into the website where it's an online referral, but that we wouldn't have a specialist actually reach back out to them if it's over the weekend or if it's after 5, that'd be the next business day. But with this upgrade, it would change that. They could get a referral instantly, depending on the criteria, depending if we have an attorney, but there would be a fee associated.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Can I answer any other questions for anybody on the program? No? All right. Well, I appreciate you guys coming in. I know I have current panel members on here, and one person that might be interested in signing up. And if you have other questions, please feel free to reach out to me directly, and I can help answer anything that you might come up. Even for current panel members, always reach out. I'm happy to help with any questions you might have. If you know if somebody is interested and they want to talk more about it, please send them my way. I will walk them through. We did have a couple more people, but I know things come up, so that couldn't make today. But hopefully this was informative and useful.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thanks.
walking us. Yeah, we appreciate the PowerPoint.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
Well, actually, now I think about it, I do have another follow-up, kind of like what Ralph was saying earlier. So some of our clients are like in the northern part of Wisconsin. So do you have a lot of attorneys, or how do you guys kind of account for that?
So it's difficult. We recruit up there, but there's not a lot of attorneys in northern Wisconsin. So we're trying to find people we have people that accept cases all over Wisconsin, but that's not always convenient for the client or the attorney. They're willing to accept them, but depending on what type of case it is, it might not be suitable to take. We are always doing recruitment to local bars and things like that. So we're trying to get more attorneys up in that area. It's just been, it's difficult because the population is so much smaller.
Are there any counties that you feel like you have enough recruitment?
Well, we can always use more. Madison,
Well,
Milwaukee
sure.
is good. Eau Claire, we are in definite need of attorneys. Eau Claire, La Crosse area. I know we need attorneys over that way. Green Bay, I think actually, Steve, I think we're pretty good. We have a few attorneys that participate up there. Green Bay is a good location. Western side of the state is just a little sparse with participation.
And then for the hotline program, can any attorney participate, or does it have to be a panel member
No,
in order to do the?
Yep. No, we offer that to all firms. So if you have someone, or if you yourself want to participate, you can reach out to me. We actually have some open dates yet for 2023 on a couple Wednesdays if anyone's interested. So then the only thing that we do ask if the question turns into a case and you are not a current LRS panel member, to send that back to the LRS program so we can give them a referral. So that's why we encourage people to be part of the panel as well.
Gotcha. Okay. Thanks. Yeah. I have a few colleagues who might be interested in doing the hotline program just because they have so much experience, and if it's like a quick question, they're pretty good about like responding.
Nice. They always take it.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, if that's it. I mean, unless Steve, you have any final words you want to offer?
No, I just appreciate everybody being here, and if you can encourage your colleagues to get involved, I think one of our primary goals right now is recruitment. I really think it's a tremendous program. Whether you're looking to grow your practice or just give back in some format, be able to give some quick legal advice. A lot of the calls I get can be handled in a few minutes. You're either telling people, sorry, you just don't have a case, or referring them elsewhere. But there are the occasional cases too that are, as you saw, there's a $300,000 med mal case. That's probably worth the $100 you paid to be a panel member. So there are the occasional cases that come through that can be of financial value as well. But anything you can do to help us in that regard, or any ideas you might have on recruitment ideas would be very helpful too. But otherwise, we'll give you the last 20 minutes of your lunch hour back, and thank everybody for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks again. Very informative.
Thank you.
Yep. Bye.